Hello, I'm Simon Whistler, you're watching TopTenzNet, and in the video today we're looking at the top 10 non-lethal weapons. Number 10. The SpeechJammer.
On the one hand, freedom of speech is the most basic human right imaginable. On the other hand, some people are repentant mouth breathers whose voice should legally be classified as ear rape, so it's completely understandable that someone somewhere would eventually come up with a device that stops people from talking, other than a sharp knife, of course. And so, two Japanese researchers have come up with a device that, when aimed at the target, makes it near impossible for them to talk. The device, nicknamed the SpeechJammer, operates on the idea of delayed auditory feedback. Basically, what it does is record what you're saying and then shoot it back at you with a slight 200 millisecond delay, which for some reason is like kicking the speech center of your brain in the nutsack. So basically, the device uses your own words to stop you from talking, which I believe is what we call poetic justice, or possibly an Orwellian horror waiting to happen.
Number 9. The Incapacitating Flashlight.
Up until now, the only way to make someone puke with a flashlight was to hit them on the back of the head with it, inducing a paralyzing seizure. But now the future Bond villains at Intelligent Optical Systems in California have come up with a flashlight that uses light pulses to disorient a target and hopefully make it puke its guts out. The incapacitating flashlight uses a rangefinder to determine the distance between itself and the one remaining Occupy protester on Earth, and then sends out a series of LED pulses which differ in color and duration. This colorful strobe light is said to have a nauseating effect on a typical human, causing him to lose balance and become sick.
Number 8. The PHASR.
The personal halting and stimulation response rifle is 3 things. 1. One of the most awkward acronyms ever. 2. Proof that an obsession with Star Trek does not diminish with age. And 3. A US Department of Defense non-lethal rifle that blinds people. To get around such pesky things as international military conventions against blinding weaponry, the PHASR is being developed to use lasers that will only temporarily blind an enemy combatant, thus making it easier to shoot him through the nipples, I assume. Unfortunately, given the size of the current PHASR prototype and its uncanny resemblance to an Xbox peripheral, it's a safe bet that, instead of actual combat, the PHASR will see most action at drunken army-based parties and future Jackass episodes.
Number 7. The Active Denial System, aka Pain Ray.
Imagine you're at a rally protesting the fascists' fascist decision to fascistly remove French fries from your community college's cafeteria. Also, you have no idea what fascist actually means. You and everyone else are restless, tension is rising high, and some guy, me most likely, innocently suggests to perhaps consider torching the campus to the ground. That's when an armored car rolls by and everyone just falls to the ground in a fit of blinding pain for no apparent reason. You have no idea what's going on. Suddenly, your whole body has been turned into a giant radio receiver and the only station it gets is Pain FM. You start pleading with every god you can think of, promising to release those teenage runaways from your basement if only someone would free you from this pain. But it's not God that's doing this to you. The ADS is a military non-lethal weapon that's basically a giant antenna that emits waves similar to those found in microwave ovens. When aimed at a person, the ADA waves can cause him or her to reach their pain threshold in a matter of seconds by making them feel as if they were burning alive. The weapon reportedly has no long-term ill effects on the human body other than a crippling phobia of microwave ovens and your own government.
Number 6. The XM1063.
The XM1063 is a powerful, full-metal, heavy-duty America, beer, and other manly words military projectile meant to be fired from a 155mm howitzer, after which it breaks down into 152 small submunitions which parachute over a 1-hectare area, delivering the deadly payload inside. The payload here just happens to be weapons-grade farts. The XM1063 is meant to be a non-lethal personal suppression system. The US Army has considered stuffing various things into their metal cannon like pepper spray or tear gas to use against enemy forces. But so far, the most viable option seems to be malodorants, i.e. chemicals that smell really, really bad. It's still not entirely certain if this is even legal under the modern chemical weapons conventions, but if it ever gets the green light, then wartime footage will become roughly 1,000,000 times funnier.
Number 5. The Gay Bomb.
You know how gay people find every single person of the same gender attractive no matter their age or personal appearance? Well, if you're getting all your information about homosexuality from hardcore gay porn, then you probably do. Also, you're probably the US military in the 1970s. More than 40 years ago, the army was actually toying with the idea of a pheromone-dispersing bomb which could be detonated over enemy territory, pumping enemy forces full of lady chemicals or whatever pheromones are, thus turning them gay. And as we all know, gay people are horrible at combat, especially those who have romantic feelings for one another.
Number 4. The Thunder Generator.
The Thunder Generator can be best summed up as a weapon that shoots explosions. Originally devised by Israeli farmers to scare away birds, the Thunder Generator uses a mixture of gas and air to create loud explosions, which the Israeli government now wants to aim at people. With a little tweak here and there, and possibly adding a human skull decal on the side, the TG has recently been reappropriated as a crowd dispersion weapon, as it can send powerful shockwaves that knock people down up to 100 meters away. Unfortunately, the Thunder Generator is non-lethal only in the sense that a regular firearm is non-lethal, as long as you only shoot the guy in the arse. It's actually been discovered that at less than 10 meters, a blast from the Thunder Generator can kill a person. But damn, can you imagine the badass headstone that would leave behind? Here lies some guy, killed by an explosion gun.
Number 3. The Chili Grenade.
Not that long ago, the Indian Special Forces apparently decided that regular pepper spray and tear gas are for pussies to sprinkle on their whole wheat cereal with skim milk, and so they started developing an explosive which instead of chemicals would disperse aerosolized chili pepper. This might actually help India get around international bans on chemical weaponry because chili peppers are perfectly natural and technically even consumed by things which might technically be considered humans. The only problem is that whenever the chili grenade hits an enemy army, there will inevitably be at least one person who will try to play it cool and boast that the chili grenade isn't that hot. God, I hate that guy.
Number 2. Sticky Foam.
Quickly, pinpoint the inherent dangers and potential for disaster with the following idea: a super expanding, quick-drying foam shot out of a gun designed to incapacitate people. If you answered too big of a temptation to use on a friend after he falls asleep drunk on the couch, then you're right. I also would have accepted the possibility of accidentally suffocating a person or a new terrifying genre of pornography. And yet the US military is all about the sticky foam gun, and the weapon is apparently already being used by Marines, most notably in Somalia.
Number 1. The Taser Shotgun.
The problem with a shotgun is that while it's cool and all, the courts tend to frown upon shooting people in the face with it. Tasers, on the other hand, go down a little easier with law enforcement since they are a non-lethal weapon, but they require you to go all the way over there to where that guy with the stupid hat is standing to electrocute his dumb ass. Man, can't some smart people with obvious mental and personality problems step in and remedy this sad situation? Sure they can! Say hello to the Taser Shotgun! Already in use in the United States and being considered by British police forces, the extended-range electronic projectile weapon fires shell-like electrode cartridges with barbs in front that once fired bore deep into the target's skin and administer a 20-second shock of 500 volts. The weapon is apparently effective up to 100 feet. I do worry though that the Taser Shotgun might work too well and eventually replace traditional tasers, and then what will I bring on a crowded subway train?
So I really hope you found that video interesting. If you did, be sure to hit that thumbs up button below this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, if you like this video, check out some of our other videos that are over there on the right. You might enjoy those as well. And thank you for watching.